Hi, my name is Chris Chopp, and I'm the Transportation Director at the Greater Portland Council of Governments, and wanted to take a couple minutes to look back at calendar year 2022 and celebrate some of the accomplishments in the transportation arena, starting with some of the transportation projects that we funded in the year, as well as some of the other projects that are currently underway, and then also an opportunity to celebrate some of the plans and policies that were passed. This presentation is really designed to just really look at the highlights and look at a snippet of those achievements. It's not meant to be all encompassing. So let's jump right in. In 2022, the region received 4 new electric buses. These were the first electric buses to come online in our region, so it's very exciting. 2 buses joined the Metro fleet, and 2 buses joined the Biddeford-Saco Old Orchard Beach Transit fleet. And it's a huge step towards vehicle electrification in our region. And it's something that GPCOG was part of from the beginning in terms of helping out with the federal grant application. And here you can see a beautiful new electric bus as part of Metro's fleet operating in Portland. Another thing I wanted to touch on was $8.4 million that was allocated to replace the Down Bay ferry. This is a Casco Bay Lines ferry that serves some of the more remote islands in Casco Bay, and it's reached its useful life. So it needs to be replaced, and Casco Bay Lines has been a leader in innovating its fleet and electrifying its fleet. So the new vessel will be a diesel-electric hybrid propulsion ferry, which is really exciting. It's cleaner, it's quieter, and will certainly go a long way to reducing carbon emissions in our region. So that vessel will come online in a couple of years, but it's an exciting start, and we'll be excited to see it in a couple of years. Another major investment that PACS made in our region was $35 million to support regional ridership recovery. Transit ridership really took a hard hit during the early days of the pandemic, as you can see on this chart here, and it slowly ticked back up, but we're still not quite there. Ferry and rail are doing pretty well. They're almost back to pre-pandemic ridership. You can see around 90%. This is as of the end of 2022. But bus and paratransit demand response is hovering around 70%. So a lot more opportunity there, but certainly there's been a lot of investment in the region's public transit system. Now shifting gears to funding that we receive from the Federal Highway Administration. We invested in 21 transportation projects across the region. It's about $5.2 million. And the one that's shown on the screen here is a conceptual design for the Saco Island Multimodal Pedestrian and Bicycle Bridge, which is really exciting. So that will go out to design in the next couple months, and then ultimately to construction to provide better connectivity for pedestrians and cyclists and active transportation users between Biddeford and Saco, and help folks get to the Saco Transportation Center. Another thing I wanted to touch on was the 10 projects that are currently under construction. So this accounts for about $15 million in transportation funding. And one of those projects is featured here. It's the intersection of Hillwater in Maine and Biddeford. It's an intersection and safety improvement project, one of 10 currently being built around our region in 2022 and extending into 23 in some cases. We've also got 15 projects coming up in calendar year 23 this year. That's about $9 million in total investments. So there's a number of projects. One that I want to feature is the Eastern Trail project. So the Eastern Trail is a 65-mile trail connecting Portland and Kittery, and this particular segment of the trail is vital because it will actually close what's currently a gap between Scarborough and South Portland. So this involves building a new bridge over the Nonsuch River. And so it's exciting that that's moving forward and will provide a much more connected experience for trail users and possibly commuters. And then we've got another 16 future projects. So these are projects that require some additional design work prior to going out for construction. So it's about $30 million in transportation funding, and lots of exciting projects around the region. The one featured here is a concept for the Beth Condon Trail in Yarmouth along Route 1, a very busy corridor where cars drive really fast, and having a dedicated trail will make it a lot safer and enjoyable, comfortable for cyclists and pedestrians. So that's an exciting project. This trail was named in honor of Beth Condon, who, when she was 15 years old, died on Route 1. She was struck by a drunk driver, and there's been a whole movement, really starting with her family, to invest in safer trail network in the community in her name. So those are some of the investments. Now I just want to touch on some of the plans and policies that were completed in our region. These are important because they really set the stage and they provide the guidebook for how we're going to invest in our transportation system in the future. Starting with Connect 2045, this is the region's long-range transportation plan. It really does provide kind of the blueprints for how we can successfully maintain and invest in our transportation system in the next 20, 25 years. It has an ambitious greenhouse gas reduction target of 70% by 2045. It also is the first time we've had one of these long-range transportation plans that includes a list of what we refer to as fiscally constrained projects. These are projects, transportation projects, that we anticipate having funding for in the future. And here you could see a girl asking a question about the future of transportation. We use this to help inform the plan's vision, goals, and objectives. And she asks, how can we make it safer for kids to bike in cities and towns? Next, I wanted to touch on Transit Together. This is a effort to reimagine our transit system. We have 7 different public transit providers operating in the greater Portland region. This was a chance to bring them all together to ensure that future routes and schedules align, that we could explore opportunities for branding and really try to create a much more seamless experience for the rider. One thing I'd feature on this slide is the recommended service plan. We expect that when the transit agencies adopt and implement, or I should say formally implement the recommendations, 20% more residents will have access to service operating every 30 minutes or better. So that's a huge improvement, and we look forward to seeing that realized in the future. Next, Complete Streets policy. So this was a policy adopted early 2023. Most of the work happened in 2022 that looked at ensuring we're designing and creating transportation projects with all users in mind. So transit riders, cyclists, pedestrians, motorists, folks using mobility assisted devices. So it's an exciting opportunity for the region to really create a much safer transportation system, again, for all transportation users and not just for motorists. We did a lot in 2022 through our Mobility for All program, which is a program that strives to educate and empower community members to advocate for better transportation and really even be part of the decision-making process. The cornerstone of that program is our Community Transportation Leaders group, and we had the second cohort graduate, which is really exciting. And then we did several other things. We had a Ride With Me event where we matched decision makers with riders so that the decision makers could learn about the public transit barriers and opportunities in our region and get really firsthand accounts of those. We also had a travel training program that we handed off to Maine Health. It was an opportunity to educate and inform care team members at Maine Health about the public transit system in particular, really how to get around the region using public transit and other modes. And now Maine Health care team providers like social workers will have the tools and resources they need to help patients get to appointments using different modes of travel. We also updated the Southern Maine Mobility Guide. This is a one-stop shop resource focusing on how to get around our region using public transit. So this slide shows 2022 by the numbers, and you can see a lot was accomplished in that year in terms of transportation investments, new vehicles coming online, investments in new ferry vessels, new plans and studies and policies completed that will help shape the future of our transportation system and, again, provide a guidebook for how we're spending valuable and precious federal transportation dollars. And we've got this, aggressive emissions reduction goal of 70% by the end of 2045. So hopefully we're off to a good start, and we look forward to great things to come in 2023. I want to thank everyone for their role in shaping this work over the last year. And thanks for listening.